moved by the government and the member at report stage. These amendments would remove important safeguards that were put in place by a majority of parliamentary committee members. We want to correct injustices, but we do not want to create an overly large loophole that would erode the value of Canadian citizenship. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We'll go to statements by members, and the member will have 5 minutes for questions and comments when we return. Statements by members. Déclaration de député. The honourable member for Hamilton Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canada's housing crisis demands urgent action to lower costs and expand access to affordable and sustainable homes. Recently, the federal government, together with the City of Hamilton, celebrated the completion of 82 new homes on Queenston Street in Hamilton Centre. But our work didn't stop there. We also marked the groundbreaking of a 40-unit supportive housing project on Gage Avenue North for Indigenous people transitioning out of homelessness by investing $12 million. We are also proud to join Kiwanis Homes next week for the launch of their new project on Barton Street East, again in Hamilton Centre. We are working with community partners to build homes at a rate not seen since the Second World War. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, recently I got the honour to pay tribute to the Women's Royal Navy Service, also known as the Wrens, at their 83rd anniversary of their training establishment in my hometown of Cambridge. Established in 1942, HMCS Conestoga was located in a former detention centre for wayward girls. The facility, originally meant to punish women, was transformed into a place to empower them. Their courage was equal to any sailors, yet for too long their story were untold. Stories such as that of Isabel McNeil, who was trained here before going on to be the Navy's first female commanding officer. We remember not only the Wrens, but all who gave the ultimate sacrifice for country. Within the House of Commons lies a simple, dark room, and in that room are books with the name of every single Canadian who gave their life to fight for freedom. If ever you visit Ottawa, I welcome you to pay tribute to the heroes in these pages in the Room of Remembrance.
L'honourable député.
The honourable member for Mont-Saint-Bruno-L'Acadie. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to highlight an amazing initiative by 4 women from Carrefour pour Elles, a shelter for women who are victims of domestic violence. From October 24th to 26th, Dali, Taime, Maxime, and Amélie are going to take on a huge challenge, a 48-hour relay by bike to raise awareness about domestic violence and to collect funds to support the women and children housed at their shelter. This collective act of kindness and pushing beyond one's own limits reflects these women's deep commitment to their community. On behalf of my riding, I warmly congratulate them and invite everyone to support this worthy cause. Thank you.
Nowaskana.
Mr. Speaker, Remembrance Day is all about thanking Canada's war veterans and remembering those who never came home. Sadly, Canada's Second World War veterans are getting fewer and fewer. Recently, Regina lost its last remaining World War II veteran. Ozzie Lackness enlisted in the Royal Canadian Navy in 1943, shortly after his 20th birthday. He went on to serve as a quartermaster on the HMCS St. Stephen, guarding supply convoys as they crossed the hazardous U-boat-infested North Atlantic waters. After the war was over, Ozzie went on to live a fulfilling life, farming near Govan, Saskatchewan, starting a family with his wife Rita, and enjoying curling in his spare time. His funeral will be held tomorrow at St. Mary's Parish Hall in Regina. As the number of World War II veterans becomes fewer and fewer, I encourage all Canadians to take the time to thank a veteran of the Second World War while they are still with us.
The honourable member for London Centre.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I rise to honour the incredible contributions of Joanne Fisher, who in the early 1980s opened up a small women's fashion boutique that has become Hangar 9, a name and a store that is synonymous with quality in our community. a clothing store that has catered to the community for all these years. She has since operated that store with her daughters, Lisa, Denise, and Rachel. And so on this 40th anniversary of Hangar 9, I salute their efforts. Entrepreneurship is a great thing, Mr. Speaker. We're so valued to have entrepreneurs in my community of London and throughout the country, in fact, that continue to make a contribution. Small business is the backbone of our economy, Mr. Speaker, and Hangar 9 is a testament to that. I invite the community to attend the special retrospective that's been planned, where memories of the past 40 years will be shared by all of those at Hangar 9. They are in our absolute debt, Mr. Speaker. They've done such a great thing. I wish them all the very best going forward. Thank you very much.
The honourable member for Cariboo Prince George.
First responders, nurses, and healthcare workers serve and protect our communities. They run towards danger, they heal our broken bones, and they hold our hand as we take our last breath. But what we've seen in the last 48 hours by this Liberal government using our frontline heroes as political pawns is shameful. I received this message from a first responder late last night. This week, I was so hopeful that political agendas would be put aside to pass a bill that has been unanimously supported 3 times and should have passed in the last Parliament. Now our safety is once again being used as a bargaining chip in a bill that will never pass in a minority Parliament. I'm saddened to see my government act like this. I gave my life to a career that has destroyed me. Mr. Speaker, violence is not part of their job description. The Liberals tying the safety of our first responders and healthcare workers to an omnibus bill that will never pass is disgusting. Does a first responder or nurse actually have to lose their life before they'll take it seriously?
The honourable member for Ottawa Centre.
Speaker, thank you very much. And I really want to take this opportunity to remind members that 10 years ago we were at the height of refugee crisis from Syria, where thousands and thousands of people coming. And my community here in Ottawa and Ottawa Centre really responded by stepping up and welcoming so many refugees. And out of that anniversary really comes the story of Refugee 613, an incredible organization that was created to help Syrian refugees settle and build better lives right here in Canada. And they have done a tremendous job in helping not only Syrian refugees, but so many refugees over the years. And just this week, they celebrated their 10th anniversary of just building an incredible community. I want to take this opportunity to thank Louisa Taylor and all the volunteers and the staff at Refugee 613 in building a thoughtful, more inclusive community here in Ottawa and benefiting all of our country. Thank you very much.
The honourable member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
According to this week's Attorney General report, the Liberal government continues to fall short on getting the Canadian Armed Forces the personnel and equipment they need to succeed. The report shows the military is short 7,000 housing units and plans to build more are woefully insufficient. Only 1 in 13 people who apply to join complete the process, and yet we are short 13,000 troops. This will see an 81% shortage in critical trades for over 10 years. And the more we discuss at Defence Committee, the worse it gets. Yesterday I confirmed that despite creating a whole new bureaucracy to streamline military procurement, led by a banker friend of the Prime Minister who may have multiple conflicts of interest, the new Defence Investment Agency will not deal with the F-35 project, the largest military procurement in Canadian history. According to the Secretary of State for Defence Procurement, the F-35 report is complete and in the Prime Minister's hands, but the decision is still under review. How much longer must the Air Force wait for the fighter jets they desperately need? Our military embodies leadership and decisive action. When will the Liberals?
The honourable member for Beauharnois, Salaberry, Soulanges, Huntingdon. Mr. Speaker, during National Autonomous Community Action Week, we pay tribute today to the thousands of organizations all across Quebec that work with passion and determination to build a more just, inclusive, and supportive society. These groups, rooted in their communities, are essential pillars of our social fabric. They defend rights, support vulnerable people, promote civic engagement, and fight against inequality. Their autonomy is a strength. It allows them to act freely based on the real needs of their communities. During this week of recognition, let us salute their unwavering commitment, creativity, and resilience. So, on behalf of the Bloc Québécois, thank you to the 54,000 professionals in the Autonomous Community Action Network and the 4,500 organizations that day after day bring these spaces of hope and social transformation to life.
Member for Markham Stouffville.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. During this Women's History Month, members of this House may be surprised to know that until 1969 it was criminal in Canada for physicians to prescribe oral contraceptives for women for the actual purpose of contraception. However, some brave physicians who felt that every child should be a wanted child were defying this prohibition before 1969. One of them was Dr. Marion Powell. Dr. Powell established the first municipally funded birth control clinic in Canada in 1966, when she was the country's first ever female medical officer of health. I worked with Marion in the 1970s and 80s when she was director of the Bay Centre for Birth Control, a clinic which is still operated by Women's College Hospital in Toronto to this day. She was my mentor, and she encouraged me to become a medical officer of health. As we celebrate Women's History Month, I wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Powell for her pioneering work in advancing women's health in Canada.
The Honourable Member for Ponoka-Tisbury.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Prime Minister once said that he'd be judged by the prices Canadians pay at the grocery store. Well, Canadians have judged him, and Canadians are paying the price. Food inflation up 4%. Vegetables up 2%, sugar up more than 9%, meat up 6%, and beef 14%. And what's the government's so-called plan? Spend more, tax more, and call it affordability. Their hidden food taxes on fuel, food packaging, and production show up on the receipt as higher prices for everyone. Well, at least everyone that has to pay for their own groceries. And Canadians feel it every single time they shop for food. When will Liberals get it through their head that the more they spend, the more inflation goes up? The more inflation goes up, the more the prices go up for Canadians. Canadians shouldn't have to go hungry because Liberals don't understand basic economics.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Mr. Speaker, today I have the honour to recognize Treat Accessibly. Earlier this month, I joined their founder, Rich Padullo, in Stittsville in my riding of Carleton to participate in the vision to make Halloween accessible for children with disabilities. A street in the community was transformed into a Halloween village, and neighbors set up tables at the end of driveways, enabling children with limited mobility to trick or treat without barriers. I want to thank the Padullo family, Rich, Natasha, and their daughter Sienna, for their work with communities across Canada to bring treats into the streets and create inclusive spaces where everyone can participate in Halloween. Treat Accessibly is a reminder that inclusion is not a barrier, but an opportunity. I will continue to show up and be supportive of all organizations like Treat Accessibility to create conditions for all Canadians to thrive.
Bravo. The Honourable Member for Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister told a room full of students that they're going to have to make sacrifices. But young Canadians have already sacrificed enough. They've already sacrificed the dream of home ownership. In 2015, the median age to buy your first home was only 31. And today, after 10 years of Liberal failure, it's 38, with some provinces as high as 40. Young Canadians have sacrificed their careers, with youth unemployment at all-time highs. And nearly half of young Canadians have sacrificed by delaying starting a family or not even having one altogether. The ancient Greeks told the story of the Titan Kronos eating his own children. I hope that isn't why the Prime Minister said that we are Athens. Sacrificing our children's future isn't good economic policy. It's wrong. Our parents and our grandparents worked hard to make a better life for us, but for the first time in our history, they're saying that this generation is not better off than the last. If that isn't a testament to 10 years of Liberal failure, I don't know what is.
Hear, hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Deputy de Terrebonne.
The Honourable Member for Terrebonne. Mr. Speaker, on October 2nd, I had the great pleasure of swearing in the student government of Des Rives Secondary School in my riding. Today, I had the honour of welcoming them to Parliament so they could see firsthand how our democracy works. 36 students have taken part in this visit, accompanied by their teachers, Luc Meba and Isabelle Marion. to whom I had the privilege of presenting the Parliamentary Medal in recognition of their outstanding commitment to this civics initiative. The members of the government are Sarah Rachel Acosta Rodriguez, Prime Minister, Carl Xavier Jeudi, Deputy Prime Minister, Mirari Lizeth Rodas Caballero, President, Amélie Anne Guillet, Representative, and Asil Tadja, Representative. I wish them every success in their duties. By representing their classmates to the administration, they're learning about the principles of democracy and preparing to become engaged and responsible citizens. Thank you.
The honourable member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, earlier this week, the Prime Minister told a room full of students that they need to make sacrifices. Evidently, from the Prime Minister's globalist, jet-setting vantage point, young Canadians have never had it so good. He couldn't be more wrong. He couldn't be more out of touch. Right. If the Prime Minister had any grip on reality, he would know that after 10 years of these Liberals, young Canadians have sacrificed enough. They've sacrificed with skyrocketing food costs. They have sacrificed without jobs in the face of the worst employment numbers in 30 years, and they have sacrificed the dream of owning a home with home ownership unattainable for 3/4 of young Canadians. Instead of lecturing young Canadians, perhaps the Prime Minister should get a grip, own up to 10 years of Liberal failure, and reverse course on his disastrous policies.
The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In this month of women's history, I'd like to congratulate a woman in my riding from Trois-Rivières on her appointment as Senior Director of Business Operations for the Professional Women's Hockey League. This appointment is a testament not only to her expertise and commitment to the development of women's hockey, but also to the influence of Trois-Rivières talent across North America and the involvement of women in sports, both on the field and behind the scenes. As enthusiasm for women's hockey grows around the world, her leadership will undoubtedly help consolidate the PWHL's place on the international stage and inspire a new generation of young players. Once again, congratulations on this great achievement. Trois-Rivières can be proud to have one of our own in such an important position. Congratulations, Marie-Christine Boucher.
The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
The Prime Minister broke his promise to negotiate a trade deal with the Americans. But what have the Canadians got for all of the Prime Minister's talk? Higher tariffs than when he was elected, thousands upon thousands of jobs lost, and concession after concession with nothing in return for Canadians. And now the U.S. President has terminated negotiations with Canada, and the Prime Minister says this morning that they're making great progress. In what world is the termination of negotiations great progress? When will the Prime Minister deliver the deal he promised?
Yeah.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, for months, we have been drawing the distinction between what we can and what we cannot control, including trade policy of the United States, which has fundamentally shifted. We remain ready to restart negotiations. At the same time, we are building Canada strong. We are diversifying our supply chains with major economies in the Indo-Pacific. We are reducing internal barriers to trade, and we are getting off the ground national projects, which I may remind the opposition they voted against. Thank you.
The member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Canadians don't have time for these Liberals to play catch-up. What have we got from the Prime Minister since his last trip to the White House? It was 5,000 auto jobs lost. What other jobs do we have to sacrifice? 100 jobs in Maitland that have gone to the United States, hundreds of forestry workers, 900 jobs in Imperial Oil that aren't coming back, all while Canadians are suffering with an affordability crisis that's been fueled by higher taxes under these Liberals and inflationary policies that have driven food prices up at the grocery store. He's telling young Canadians they need to make sacrifices. When is he going to deliver on his promise with a deal?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, it's surprising that the member opposite doesn't recognize that this government has been there to support industry and affected sectors with a $5 billion Strategic Response Fund, Mr. Speaker, and $10 billion for liquidity management. At the same time, 80% of our trade is covered by an existing free trade agreement. At the same time, we are reducing internal barriers to trade to add up to $200 billion to the Canadian economy. We urge the opposition to get on board and stand united and build Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent à Cahoonrac. Mr. Speaker, this morning, another broken promise from the Prime Minister. He said there would be an agreement, there would be no tariffs. Well, what? Over the last 6 months, we've had nothing but tariffs. And dozens of thousands of jobs lost in Canada because of these tariffs. What did we learn this morning? Well, Trump has cancelled negotiations. What was the direct response by the Prime Minister? He said, we're making progress. What does that mean? What planet does he live in? Millions of people are waiting for an agreement, but there's none. How can he defend what is inexcusable? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, for months now, we have been saying how important it is to make a distinction between the things we can and we cannot control. Now, we are prepared to start negotiations up again, but we ourselves can act here for nation-building projects to build the Canadian economy by diversifying our economy while we are building supply chains. We will be here for Canada Strong. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent à Cahoonrac. Here in Canada, the Minister is saying here in Canada, but is she even aware of what's going on in Canada? In the Montreal region, 300 people lost their jobs at PACCAR. That's over 5,000 employees in the auto sector that have lost their job in Canada. What about aluminum, softwood lumber, steel, auto? Thousands of Quebecers are waiting for an answer from the government. And the government is saying we're making progress? The negotiations are over, according to Trump. When will the government act in a responsible way? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the opposition knows that we are here for Canadians, including Quebecers. We are here with support for the auto industry, for the softwood lumber industry, for the industry overall, with $5 million with a strategic fund. At the same time, we will be diversifying our supply chains. We will be building the Canadian economy. And we will be here for Canada. Canada Strong. Will he be on our side?
Honourable Member for Bowmanville, Oshawa North.
Mr. Speaker, last week I traveled to 4 university campuses to hear from Canadian students, many of them feeling very anxious about their futures in this economy. This week, I watched the Prime Minister speak to a group of students and lecture them on the need to make sacrifices as if they already haven't been asked to do so. His speech was tone-deaf and out of touch. Right. Will the Prime Minister commit today to getting spending under control and stop putting the next generation of Canadians into even more debt?
Great question. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Secretary of State for Labour, Children and Youth.
Mr. Speaker, our government has said that we're going to be making generational investments in the upcoming budget. Generational because we know that youth are at the heart of Canada's future, and we have a plan to ensure that they succeed. It's why we're going to be creating tens of thousands of jobs through major projects that the Conservatives call pathetic. It's why we are going to be building Canada Homes, creating new affordable homes for young people that the Conservatives call shacks, Mr. Speaker, or why we continue to invest in things that support our young people, like our national school food program, which yesterday the Conservatives called garbage, Mr. Speaker. When will they actually stand up for Canada's youth?
The Honourable Member for Bowmanville, Oshawa North.
The Canadian people can see more empty Liberal promises, more generational word salad, all of which adds up to more spending and more debt thrust upon the next generation of Canadian dreamers, builders, strivers, and hustlers. The Prime Minister should not be lecturing young people about sacrifice. He should be listening to them and hearing their stories. Will the Prime Minister, again, I'm going to ask, Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister commit today to getting spending under control so young people can afford to get ahead in life?
Great question. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Speaker, opportunities for young people is exactly what this government is creating. Just yesterday in that member's riding, we announced a major project that's moving forward with $2 billion worth of investment that will create 18,000 jobs across Durham region. 3,700 of them full-time jobs, and provide clean power to 1.2 million Canadians. Can the member opposite from Bowmanville not stand up and actually support those opportunities for once?
Order, order.
The honourable member. Mr. Speaker, Donald Trump has broken off negotiations. We're far from reaching an agreement, despite what the Liberal saviors promised during the elections. Sure, there are some things that are unpredictable, but some things Ottawa can control, namely how to protect our people. Right now, aid for the lumber industry has not come through. We've lost 300 jobs at PACCAR because of tariffs on trucks, and at the same time, Ottawa is making EI more difficult to access. With relations with Washington at an all-time low, what will the Prime Minister do to ensure that Quebecers are not paying the price for Canada's failures? The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, we've always known that the situation would be unstable. We are making every effort to be a steady hand. We will continue to support the industry and workers. We realize that unprecedented investments are essential to support our labour force. We've provided for $5 million in the Strategic Intervention Fund. We are signing agreements with countries to build a strong economy. The member for Gaspésie, les Îles de la Médiane, Ouest et Gauche. It's all well and good to want to diversify our trading partners within 10 years, as the Prime Minister claims, but for workers at PACCAR, in our sawmills, in our aluminum smelters, in our steel mills, 10 years is an eternity. The Prime Minister has an obligation to deliver results for Quebecers who have this hanging over their heads. Talks of diversification must translate into contracts and job creation. Support for industries and workers must be flexible and accessible more swiftly. When will we see results? The Honourable Minister. Once again, Mr. Speaker, we stand among the best in the G7 for business. We are strengthening our partnerships in Europe, in the Indo-Pacific region, in Africa too. This is why we have signed an agreement, a historic trade agreement with Indonesia that will create jobs here in our country as well. This is not just an agreement. We're talking about wages for Canadians, and we are here to build the Canadian economy, build Canada strong. Will they be here with us? The honourable member. Mr. Speaker, the lumber industry does not have 10 years to wait for the Prime Minister and his economic diversification trips. The Bloc Québécois is demanding a real rescue plan for the forest industry. First, Ottawa must finally release the financial aid it has promised. That'd be a start. Next, we need a wage subsidy to protect workers and their jobs in the event of layoffs. When will the federal government show the same urgency for Quebec's lumber industry as it does for the auto industry in Ontario? The Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lumber in Quebec and in Canada is building our country, but the American tariffs, as we know, are imperiling our businesses and our industry. And this is why we are here to compensate for the pressure that are being felt because of tariffs. Through the Canada Development Bank, $500 million will be forthcoming, and we will always be here for our lumber industry.
Youth unemployment is nearing 500,000. That's the worst in 25 years. And that is the price that young Canadians are paying after 10 long years of Liberal failure. They have already sacrificed owning a home and starting a family. Food prices have skyrocketed. Housing starts in Toronto have fallen to a 30-year low. And yet the Prime Minister stood before a room of students and told them to make even more sacrifices. He is blind to the realities facing young Canadians, stubbornly pushing the same failed policies. When will these Liberals finally rein in their reckless spending so young Canadians can afford to dream again?
The Honourable Foreign Secretary, the Secretary of State for Youth and Children.
Mr. Speaker, when we talk about spending less to invest more, it's because we believe that we need to create prosperity for the younger generations of Canadians. When we look at our track record, housing starts are up under this Prime Minister. Construction investment is up. Wages are up, and we've created over 100,000 full-time jobs in the past month alone. We have a responsible plan. We're just getting started, and Mr. Speaker, young people are at the center of it.
The honourable member for Newmarket Aurora.
The deficit is doubling. They're changing definitions so they can manipulate the results and confuse Canadians. They are not spending less. Our youth are living the fallout of failed policies. They cannot afford a home. They're searching for jobs that no longer exist while this Liberal government mortgages their future. Mr. Speaker, when will this government open its eyes to the struggles of young Canadians and deliver a responsible budget that doesn't burden them with generational debt?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Secretary of State for Youth and Children.
Mr. Speaker, in our budget, what you're going to see are the kind of investments that are actually going to set young people on the right path forward. Creating jobs, investing in skills and apprenticeships, investing in affordable homes, and making it easier for young people to get into those homes. Those are the kind of investments that we're making. When members on the opposite side of the House stand up and call things like our National School Food Program garbage, which helps young Canadians get the best early start in life, you have to wonder about really whether they care about youth.
The member for Abbotsford South Langley.
Mr. Speaker, it is shameful that this elitist Prime Minister would speak to university students about making sacrifices. These students have already sacrificed their dream of home ownership. They paid for the climbing cost of food. They are living paycheck to paycheck. That is if they can even find a job. So will this Prime Minister rein in his out-of-control inflationary deficit so young Canadians can finally afford a home?
Great question.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, it is appalling that the member opposite is talking about sacrifices. You know who makes sacrifices every day in this country? Our National Police Force. My father spent 30 years serving in the Peel Regional Police Force. Recently we heard the Conservative leader call our National Police Force despicable. Despicable. He called the men and women that serve our communities and keep them safe despicable, and he still doesn't have the good sense to stand up and apologize for such an appalling statement.
Order. The honourable member for Abbotsford South Langley.
Mr. Speaker, they failed to answer the question. The members opposite have announced a new Blue Seal program that Canada has abundant opportunities for youth. But the facts tell a different story. Youth unemployment has risen by 14.7%, the highest since 2010, with employment levels now at their lowest since 1998. CIBC says youth unemployment rates have climbed 5.5 percent points since 2022. Will this government stop congratulating themselves and start helping youth find real jobs?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Finance.
That's exactly what our government is doing. By bringing prosperity to Canada, by making generational investments, by decreasing spending. Our economy is growing. We're creating tens of thousands of jobs. The Leader of the Opposition calls major nation-building projects that create tens of thousands of jobs pathetic. And then on top of it, the Conservative members call a national school food program garbage that's feeding kids across this country, giving them the best start. How can they possibly claim to care about the next generation?
Order. Now, member for Brandon Souris.
The young Canadian families that I know would like to be able to feed their kids themselves, not on a government handout. On Wednesday, the Prime Minister told a room full of students that they need to make sacrifices, but young Canadians have already sacrificed enough under this Liberal government. They've sacrificed the dream of owning a home. They've paid the price at the pump and at the grocery store. They've endured summers without work and have a future saddled with debt. After 10 years of Liberal failure, Canadians have sacrificed enough. When will the Liberals finally get their spending under control and restore hope for young Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Secretary of State for Youth and Children.
Mr. Speaker, let me take an opportunity to shed some light on the Conservative Youth Plan, which borrows heavily from the MAGA playbook. It includes restricting student financial aid to the programs that they like and defunding the ones that they don't. With their track record, we should be worried about basic science, arts, literature, culture, environmental studies, public health, early childhood education. Is their plan a path to defund those students? And if so, what kind of future do they see for Canada's youth?
The honourable member for Brandon Souris.
Clearly, that member missed her leader's speech asking young Canadians to sacrifice. But newsflash, because of her policies, they've already sacrificed enough. StatsCan data shows youth unemployment has climbed to nearly 15%, the highest it's been since 2010. Since the Prime Minister was sworn in, nearly 48,000 more Canadians have to rely on EI to pay their bills. That's not progress, that's Liberal decline. So, Mr. Speaker, how can this Liberal Prime Minister look young Canadians in the eye and ask them to sacrifice more when it's his own Liberal MPs' failures that have taken away their jobs, their homes, and their hope for their future?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Secretary of State for Youth and Children.
Mr. Speaker, we are making generational investments into Canada to build this country strong for the next generation. We are building housing. We are investing in skills. We are building major projects to create jobs. Our plan is working. We are making progress. We have more to do. On November 4th, Conservatives have the ability to stand up and support us as we build this country to make it better for all Canadians.
The honourable member for Regina Wascana.
Mr. Speaker, before the election, this Prime Minister said he could solve Canada's economic woes because he had a plan. This week, he finally revealed that plan to a room full of young people. It turns out the plan is they have to make sacrifices by giving up on the dream of home ownership, paying higher prices at the grocery store, and spending all summer unemployed. Mr. Speaker, if this was the Prime Minister's plan all along, then why wasn't he honest with young people about the sacrifices he had in store for them?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, one thing we know about the Conservatives is that they don't know shame. You know, when I sat in opposition, when the leader of the Conservative Party was a part of the government, Mr. Speaker, they actually cut the summer students program. Mr. Speaker, how dare they try to say we as a government that does not support youth when he sat around the cabinet and did nothing but cut after cut. Young people of Canada know that this government has their back, and we will continue to do that. Come November 4th, there's going to be a powerful statement for the young people of Canada.
Order. Honourable Deputy de Pierre Boucher, les Patriotes, Verchères.
The honourable member. Mr. Speaker, cheap drivers are a public danger on our roads, but also for our workers in Quebec. Over the past 3 years, more than 1,000 Quebec truckers have lost their jobs. Meanwhile, things are exploding in Ontario. The number of discount drivers, businesses skyrocketed. We're losing our skilled Quebec truckers to Ontario companies that exploit these fake truckers with driver's licenses that they got through fraudulent means. The Bloc Québécois proposed 10 measures to put an end to discount drivers. When will Ottawa take action? Licensure is a provincial area of jurisdiction. The provinces need to act. For our part, we defend truckers. They deserve fair wages and the protection of the law. Over 1,000 inspections, and truckers can certainly speak up if there are any concerns. Our priority is to ensure the priority of the roads and drivers. The honourable member for Pierre Boucher, les Patriotes, Verchères. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Quebec's already doing its job in that regard. The chief coroner has ordered a public inquiry, but the government's not doing anything yet. The government in Quebec is going to arm its road inspectors, but the problem doesn't come from Quebec. The problem comes from Ontario because these discount drivers all come, or almost all come, from Ontario. It's the federal rules that allow foreign workers to incorporate and allow these companies to do business. Again, Quebec is the only one to act, whereas the problem is in Ontario and at the federal level. When will Ottawa do its job? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
We are protecting the trucking industry. We've taken steps to ensure that truck drivers have fair pay. We have taken steps to ensure that misclassification is made illegal. We are enforcing that more than ever. We continue to work with the provinces, especially with Quebec, on this issue, and our priority remains making sure that we are keeping our roads safe and that we are supporting our industries and our workers fairly.
Member of Cariboo, Prince George.
It's been 10 years and the Liberals have failed to secure a softwood lumber agreement. In the meantime, over $10 billion in tariffs and duties on Canadian lumber have been collected by the Americans. 30 mills have been closed in BC, and tens of thousands of Canadians have lost their jobs. Over 2,700 in my riding alone. That's 2,700 families that can't afford food to put on their table. 2,700 families that can't afford to pay their bills at the end of the month. 2,700 families who have lost hope. When will the forestry families become a priority for this Prime Minister?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we stand with affected communities and affected workers, and we've announced a number of supports, $50 million for workers, $700 million in liquidity supports, which are accessible through the banks that the mills are using right now, and $500 million of innovation to come. We know that this has been a very disruptive situation. This is a long-standing challenge with the United States. We're working on all levels to manage to resolve it, and I welcome the feedback from the minister opposite or the member opposite on plans that they would like to see.
The member for Caribou Prince George.
We're hemorrhaging jobs, and they're offering a Band-Aid. Canadians don't want handouts. They want jobs. The forestry sector supports over 200,000 direct jobs in 300 forestry communities nationwide. That's more direct employment than Canada's steel, aluminum, and automotive sectors combined. This Prime Minister campaigned on negotiating a win with the U.S. Instead, since he took over, tariffs on Canadian soft wood have tripled. When will the forestry families actually become a priority for him?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we stand with BC communities, and FPAC was in town this week with many industry leaders, many other governments. We met with those and we talked about what we could do in order to support them, and I continue to work with the sector to make sure that we are providing supports that are meeting the moment. I do welcome the member opposite to provide those supports.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia, Lambton, Big Kishwanwong.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Prime Minister said he would be judged by the prices that Canadians pay at the grocery store, and Canadians are paying the price. Food inflation is skyrocketing, up 4%. Liberal deficits are driving inflation. The more Liberals spend, the more it costs Canadians at the grocery store. 25% of Canadians are using food banks because they can't afford to eat. So when will the Prime Minister finally get his inflationary deficits under control so Canadians can put food on the table?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Secretary of State, Children and Youth.
Mr. Speaker, Conservative members pretend to care about food insecurity, but then they call feeding children garbage, which is completely unacceptable. Up to 400,000 more kids are getting healthy meals in their school. This is saving parents up to $800 a year on their grocery bills. That is meaningful change. How can Canadians take the party opposite seriously, Mr. Speaker, when they literally want to take food off of kids' tables and defund our food programs?
Sorry, Lambton, Big Kishwanwong.
Mr. Speaker, what's garbage was that answer. Hidden Liberal food taxes are worked into the sticker price of everyday essentials, driving up food costs. The new fuel standards adding 17 cents a litre to the fuel that truckers use to get the food to the grocery store. The food packaging tax and industrial carbon tax are inflating grocery prices as well. They show up on the total cost on your receipt. Will the Prime Minister reverse the hidden Liberal food taxes so that Canadians can afford to feed their families?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Finance.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the reason that the imaginary taxes the Conservatives are trying to invent don't appear on people's grocery receipts is because they're not real. Let me officially welcome the Conservative Party to reality, Mr. Speaker. While they try to invent imaginary taxes, we're busy cutting taxes and helping make it easier for Canadians to file their taxes. We've cut income tax for 22 million Canadians, cut GST on new home purchases, repealed the consumer carbon tax, and we've moved forward with automatic tax filing so Canadians can get the benefits that they deserve.
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, it's same old with these Liberals. Lots of talk, but no action to deal with the Driver Inc. phenomenon. Canadians and Beaucerons are worried. They want the government to ensure safety on our roads. Mr. Speaker, lives are on the line. This is unacceptable. It's high time for the Liberals to put on their big boy pants and take charge. My question is for the Minister of Public Safety. What is the value of a human life?
Transport.
Mr. Speaker, our truck drivers do crucial work for our economy and Canadians' quality of life. They must be able to do this work safely for themselves, but for all road users. And we're closely monitoring the situation, and we'll take the necessary measures, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that our truck drivers can work in reasonable conditions, protecting their safety, and that for all Canadians.
The honourable member for Dartmouth Cole Harbour.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has what the world wants and needs: the resources, ingenuity, technology, and skills to make us a clean energy superpower. And Atlantic Canada is ready, willing, and able. With Budget 2025, we know that the government is making generational investments to ensure that our economy remains strong, focused, and resilient. This historic budget will build on the work already started by the Major Projects Office, which is going to cut red tape, fast-track major nation-building projects as well. Can the Parliamentary Secretary for Finance tell us how Budget 2025 and the Major Projects Office are helping to build Canada strong?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Speaker, and thank you to my colleague for the question. We are making generational investments that create good-paying jobs and grow our economy. Yesterday, I was honoured to join the Prime Minister and the Premier of Ontario to announce support for OPG's Darlington new nuclear project located in my home, Durham region. This important project will build 4 SMRs that will power 1.2 million households with clean energy, create 18,000 construction jobs, as well as 3,700 careers, and add $38.5 billion to Canada's GDP over 65 years. That's how you build Canada.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Just this morning, this Liberal Prime Minister had the audacity to say he's making significant progress in removing Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada. Are you kidding me? We lost 3,000 auto jobs in Brampton, 1,200 auto jobs in Ingersoll, and that's just in the last 10 days. What an absolute slap in the face to auto workers. Now, the Prime Minister also just recently said that Canadians have to make sacrifices. Why don't they actually confess? The sacrifice he's talking about is the entire Canadian auto industry.
Yes. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, for months we've been drawing the distinction between things that we can and cannot control. We cannot control the trade policy of the United States or any other country. We can control what we do here at home. We are building the strongest economy in the G7. We are doing that by reducing internal barriers to trade. We are doing that by supporting affected industries, including $5 billion in the Strategic Response Fund, and helping support workers across this country, Mr. Speaker. We ask the Conservatives, rather than talking down Canada, to stand with us.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
I think this minister needs to hear something. Auto workers want their jobs. Yeah. They don't want handouts. They don't want to hear we're making progress. Yes. They don't want to hear these bromides about stand up for Canada. What they want is to get back in the plant and make their jobs.
That's right.
And they want to make the great cars that they make. So here's my question to this minister. What is the actual plan to get auto workers back in the factories producing cars? Because what it looks like right now is they're sacrificing the auto industry in a desperate and pathetic attempt to appease Donald Trump.
Wow. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The plan is to work with unions, work with companies, work with provinces to have an alignment so that we can fight these unjustified tariffs. The plan, Mr. Speaker, is to have a strategic response fund to support the workers and the businesses in this time of challenge for us. The plan, Mr. Speaker, is to change our emissions framework to make sure that Stellantis and GM know exactly what we're doing. And the plan, Mr. Speaker, is to continue to diversify our trade and to continue to work with companies like Linamar, whose CEO, Chair Linda Hassenfratz, in committee this week said that this is one of the most productive sectors in all of Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, under this Liberal Prime Minister, Canada's biggest export to the U.S. has become good-paying auto jobs. Paychecks are vanishing. First it was Windsor, then it was Brampton, then it was Oshawa, then it was Ingersoll. Now people in my community are terrified that Cambridge will be next, with thousands of livelihoods hanging in the balance. The Prime Minister admitted that he'll unlikely get a complete trade deal with the U.S. despite all his endless promises. He is full of talk, but out of gas, and Canadians are left stranded. So how many more jobs will get sent south because of his broken promises and negotiating failures?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, What's important is that we all work together to fight these unjustified tariffs and to have a plan to respond. That includes the Strategic Response Fund. That includes the changes that we've made to the remissions framework. That includes diversifying our trade, continuing to attract companies from all over the world to build right here in Canada, and to listen to the words of Linda Hassenfratz, who said that the most productive factories that she has of all the footprint in the world are right here in Canada, and to work with the companies, the workers, and to talk up our industry, not talk it down, not talk down the EVs, but to say, we want these jobs here, we want these cars here, and we will always be an auto-producing nation.
The honourable member for Niagara South.
Mr. Speaker, Stellantis announced that Jeep production is moving from Brampton to Illinois, taking 3,000 Canadian jobs with it. The Liberals gave Stellantis up to $10 billion in taxpayer money for an EV plant in Ontario, but failed to secure the job protection for its workers. They also did this with 2 EV plants in my riding, one that never opened and one that's still under construction. Will this be another case of déjà vu? When will this Liberal government keep its word and stop the destruction of the auto sector in this country?
Good question. The Honourable Parliament Secretary, the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we've heard the recent news that some of our auto manufacturers have announced reductions in their production levels at Canadian facilities, and the government is extremely concerned and disappointed in those announcements. Government of Canada is committed to maintaining a strong Canadian automotive industry, its footprint here in Canada, with the well-paying jobs that come with it. The government expects these companies to respect their commitments towards Canada and their workers. We've adjusted the remissions framework to correspond with the reduction in those production levels. That's how we'll protect our Canadian footprint for the automotive industry.
The honourable member for Côte-du-Sud, Rivière-du-Loup, Kataskamik-Témiscouata. Mr. Speaker, in Quebec, rent went up almost 10%, double the national average. After 10 years of Liberal deficits, everything is more expensive. I've seen this. Last week, at a gas station in La Pocatière, one of my constituents asked why Liberals are spending billions of dollars uselessly when she can't make rent and unless she cuts her food spending. Could you imagine? This makes no sense. Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister stop throwing money out the window and give Quebecers a little bit of breathing room? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, Canada is dealing with a housing crisis. Rent and mortgages are unaffordable. In the last campaign, Canadians clearly expressed that now is the time to build. This means building housing at a pace not seen for generations. That's why we launched Build Canada Homes, a program all about building and funding affordable housing at scale to meet the needs of Canadians throughout the housing spectrum. The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, a study has shown an alarming spike in anxiety and depression among our young people. More than 80% of young people are constantly stressed about their finances and their future. They're dealing with economic insecurity. Now the Prime Minister is telling them they have to make sacrifices. Mr. Speaker, how can this government ask for more sacrifices from a generation already struggling with vulnerability, inflation, and 10 years of Liberal governance? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Conservatives talk a big game about supporting young people and young families, but they voted against every single measure that actually helped them. Our government is delivering real results, from childcare to national food programs to Canadian dental care plan, now reaching more than 5 million Canadians and saving families $800 a year. That's money that stays in Canadians' pocket while giving them timely access to quality care. We're lowering costs for young Canadians while the Conservatives are just lowering expectations.
The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, we are talking about 1 in every 5 young Canadians who feels that they are in financial danger. They think about this every day. Rent in Quebec is up by 10%. It's no wonder that children or young people are losing hope in our future. The housing crisis is turning into a mental health crisis. Now the Prime Minister is telling our young people they need to make more sacrifices. On the contrary, it's time for the Liberal government to change their pace and offer a real future to our young people. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker,
the reason that we're making generational investments in young people is because we believe that they are the future. When we think about affordability today, it's also why we listen to groups like, for example, the Right to Food, because they talk about the need to strengthen our social safety net, including affordable childcare, including dental care, the workers' benefit, the child benefit. It's why we are introducing automatic tax filing for millions of Canadians. Mr. Speaker, our plan includes building homes that young people can afford, building great jobs that are going to create opportunities for their future. This is how a responsible government tackles the challenge of building a great country.
The honourable member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the Health Minister revealed that she doesn't personally review supervised consumption site applications, so I'm going to bring one to her attention. There's currently an application for review on her desk for a drug consumption site in Whitehorse, Yukon. Multiple daycares are located within steps of this site, and an elementary school is just 200 meters away. The Health Minister has the power to reject this application. Will the Minister protect the children, or will she approve another drug consumption site next to schools and daycares?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honourable colleague for his question. No parent should worry about their child picking up a broken needle or a broken pipe. While evidence shows that safe consumption sites help reduce public drug use and stop the spread of infectious diseases, we recognize the impact of these sites have on these communities. As we continue to work with parents to tackle this public health issue and with partners to tackle this public health issue, service providers must engage with our communities, have mitigation measures in place to address community concerns about public safety. Thank you.
Honourable member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, clearly the Health Minister doesn't care that drugs are used next to children because she allows it to happen right across Canada. According to her own department, fentanyl is the most used drug in consumption sites the Liberals continue to approve. Fentanyl is used in over 48% of the visits to federally approved drug consumption sites. Given that a few grains of fentanyl can kill you, will the Minister at least shut down the fentanyl consumption sites next to children? Yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to reiterate our government understand the devastating impact of drug and overdose crisis that has had on families and communities in every corner of the country. I also want to continue to say that we will continue to work with partners across the board to tackle this public health crisis and invite the member opposite to work with us on this instead of fighting us on this. Thank you.
The honourable member for Halifax.
Speaker, women's health has consistently been a blind spot in our healthcare system. We use data to make critical decisions. When research fails to account for gender differences, the results are biased and women pay the price. From heart attacks to endometriosis, from menopause to cancers, there's a lack of focused research and a deficiency of critical data. Can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health tell this House how the government is ensuring that Canada's healthcare system is working towards adequately serving this half of the population?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for her important question. At a time when women's rights are being rolled back around the world, Canada is moving forward. For too long, women's health has been under-researched, underfunded, and too often dismissed. That is changing. Our new government is closing data gaps, modernizing breast cancer screening, and improving access to reproductive care so women are heard, believed, and supported. Because a strong Canada depends on healthy Canadians, and when women are healthy, families and communities thrive.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, weeks ago I asked how Gulfam Hussain, a Pakistani national, was allowed to enter Canada by the Liberals in spite of being convicted in the United Kingdom for, quote, adult sexual activity with a female child family member, aged 13 to 17, offender over 18, penetration. He was also on the UK's sex offender registry. Can the Liberals tell Canadians whether or not they've deported this publicly listed, incestuous child sex abuser from Canada in the week since I've last asked about him?
Good question. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Refugees.
Mr. Speaker, while the Conservatives never miss an opportunity to disrespect law enforcement, what we will do is allow law enforcement to do their job. We trust them to execute upon Canadian law, and we leave that matter in their hands. What we also won't do, Mr. Speaker, is politicize from start to finish immigration policy in this country. In the lead up to the last election, the Conservative leader said we needed more immigration. In the lead up to the last election, he promised those who had expiring student permits, that he would prevent them from being deported, Mr. Speaker. That's irresponsible policy, but that's the Conservative way.
Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
So I will take that as a no. The Liberals have not deported the publicly listed incestuous child sex abuser who should never have been allowed into the country in the first place because he was on a public sex offender registry in a G7 country. Like, listen to that answer. You know, the Liberals stand up and, like, why can't they just say yes? People who commit crimes, non-citizens, serious crimes who are inadmissible to this country should be deported. Has Gulfham Hussein been deported from Canada?
The Honourable Parliament Secretary, Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Of course, Mr. Speaker, those who break the law face the consequences of Canadian law, and we trust law enforcement to carry out their responsibilities. Mr. Speaker, I reiterate that in this country, we have an absolute opportunity now to ensure that immigration policy is put on a solid footing. That's why this government is seized with ensuring sustainability in the immigration system, is seized with ensuring that immigration policy is always about economic policy. We center ourselves on Canadian values. The Conservatives can play games with immigration for political purposes and to support the Leader of the Opposition as he leads into the leadership review.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
This week, the Prime Minister asked Canadians to sacrifice more, and at the same time, the Minister of Immigration advertised Canada's free healthcare system on Twitter to bolster an already unsustainable level of immigration that the Liberals have undertaken. And they did this all while emergency rooms are overflowing, and most people can't access basic primary care or diagnostic, or seniors accessing long-term care. This isn't fair to anyone, including newcomers. With the healthcare system barely being able to serve the people in Canada right now, will the Liberals apologize for falsely advertising that Canada has the capacity to be the world's walk-in clinic?
The Honourable Parliament Secretary to the Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, we understand that there are pressures in the Canadian economy, in the Canadian society, because of, among other factors, ensuring that we have a sustainable immigration system. And that is exactly what this government is doing. In a few weeks' time, the member will know she is the critic for the Conservative Party on immigration. There is a level plan that will be presented. It will be sustainable. It will ensure that talent attraction is at the heart of the strategy. And I implore my colleagues to, instead of politicizing questions of immigration, to put serious ideas on the floor that are constitutional. I emphasize that are constitutional.
The Honourable Member for Oakville West.
Mr. Speaker, auto sector is being hit hard by unjustified U.S. tariffs. In my riding of Oakville West, Fort Oakville Assembly is backbone of our local economy, employing over 4,000 skilled workers who continue retooling to keep production here at home in these challenging times. Last week, auto workers in Brampton, the GTA, and across Canada were rocked by the news that Stellantis is moving production of Jeep Compass to the U.S. to avoid these tariffs. Can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry update the House on how we are fighting for our workers and for our auto sector?
Yeah, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank my honourable colleague from Oakville West for her question and for her consistent advocacy for auto workers in her community, especially at the Ford plant. So let's be clear, the Stellantis decision to move production out of Brampton is unacceptable. Stellantis has made important commitments to Canada and to our workers, and we expect them to hold up their end of the deal. We expect them to hold up their commitments. That's exactly what the Minister of Industry wrote in her letter to the President of Stellantis, where she summoned him, as well as the Minister of Economic Development for Ontario and the head of Unifor. We've also announced that we'll be limiting the number of vehicles Stellantis can import tariff-free. We're holding Stellantis to account, and we'll fight for our workers every single day.
The Honourable Member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister lectured a roomful of students that they'll have to make sacrifices. But they already have. They have sacrificed their dream of owning a home, watched food prices soar, and they struggle to find work. Statistics Canada says 1 in 4 barely make ends meet. After 10 years of Liberal failures, Canadians are working harder but falling further behind. Will the Liberals finally rein in their reckless spending so people can afford to live, eat, and own a home again?
The Honourable Parliament Secretary, the Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, let me show you a little bit of contrast.
Right.
A caring government and what a caring government does. The Prime Minister just a week ago made an announcement about the National School Food Program, saying it's going to become a permanent program. Children in every region of the country will benefit by that program. Contrast that to the Conservative response that we hear as late as yesterday when you had a member disgracefully stand in the chamber and said that that program is garbage. That's not caring for Canadians. That's not caring for the children. That is what the Liberal government will continue to do into the future, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Rosemont-La Petite Patrie. Shocker this morning, Mr. Speaker. President Trump terminated trade talks with Canada. This is a blatant failure on the part of the Prime Minister. He was elected as a champion negotiator, and now he's coming back empty-handed. Despite this, he did everything he could to please Trump. Border security, military spending, opening the Keystone XL pipeline. Stepping back on the taxation of web giants, he practically went down on his knees in the Oval Office. Job losses are spreading. When will the Prime Minister stand up with a real strategy to protect workers?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, that is not true. For months now, we have been noting the importance of distinguishing between what we can control and what we can't control. The latter includes U.S. trade policy. We are ready to resume trade talks with the U.S., but at the same time, we are able to act here at home by beginning national construction projects, growing the Canadian economy by eliminating internal trade barriers, and diversifying our trade through new trade relationships.
Mr. Speaker, the Anishinaabe Nation has declared a state of emergency amid rising violence, trafficking, and gang crime. Yet the federal government hasn't paid its share to ensure adequate policing. Liberals rush to exploit the Ring of Fire in Nan territory for so-called national interest, but stay silent as their communities face danger. My question, Mr. Speaker, is safety of Indigenous people not of national interest? And if this government truly cares about public safety, when will it act to address Nan's state of emergency?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, everyone in Canada deserves to live in safety, including our Indigenous communities. We will ensure that they have the police services and the tools and resources necessary to address this crisis. We will fight crime. We will fight inequality. That, Mr. Speaker, is why Canadians voted for us. That is why Indigenous communities trust us. We are monitoring the situation closely. We will address this crisis as quickly as we can.
I wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of Ms. Mirjana Spoljaric-Egger, President of the International Committee of the Red Cross. No points of order. I wish to inform the House that the volume of earpieces will now be reset. Routine proceedings. Dépôt de documents.
Tabling of documents. Introduction of government bills.
Ministers. Reports from interparliamentary delegations. Présentation de rapport.
Presenting reports from committees. Introduction of private members' bills.
Of Senate public bills. Motions. Motion. Presenting petitions. The Honourable Member for St. John, St. Croix.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I table a petition from residents of my riding concerning charitable status. The petitioners are concerned about the Finance Committee's proposal to remove charitable status for churches and other religious organizations, a proposal supported by the Liberal MPs on the committee. Petitioners note The work